It's 7:30 at the mighty 1630 KCJJ. Jim Hunter and Tommy Lang, and we are joined in our monthly visit from Sheriff Brad Kunkel of the Johnson County Sheriff's Department.
Say the name of the segment.
He's the sheriff.
There you go. One of my favorites. It's such a random reference. That was Captain Steve's idea, for the record.
And he's not even here. I even showed up early today.
I know.
Yep. Oh, well, I'll make it up next time, and I'll be late.
Yes.
Yeah, definitely.
A day or two, it doesn't matter.
If he's here that Monday, we don't know.
Yeah, so how's everything going, Sheriff?
They're good. They're good. We were chatting on the way in that the mushroom hunters are having a bumper crop this year. My son and his buddies found a bunch just behind our place. Only found about 15, but they were big enough to feed about 5 of us. But yeah, everybody I see is just finding scads of them. Mm-hmm. Public ground, everywhere. So it's been a hell of a year for mushrooms.
Somebody on Facebook was holding it. Said, I found 2. He was all happy to find 2 of them.
Well, we've got them here, too, out by the sheds.
Oh, yeah, out there by the transmitter.
Yeah.
Towers.
Yep.
That's it.
It's funny. This weekend was prom.
Federal property, though. You can't come out here.
Yeah.
We took my son and the group he was going with. We went and took pictures out by McBride, and he's in his his black jacket, all dressed up for prom. Mm-hmm. And next thing you know, I look over and we see him. He's in the timber mushroom hunting. Like he's running. I'm like, all he's gonna do is find ticks probably and go to prom with a tick.
Put a suit on a kid, but he's always gonna be.
That's right. Yeah, we got this great picture of him out there hunting mushrooms in a tux.
I love mushrooms. I just don't. I don't know which ones to pick or not. I've never really got into it. I know people are really, really into it. I've said this has been a really good season so far.
It's been really warm, a lot of rain. Yeah, it's been a hell of a year for them, that's for sure.
And as sheriff, you should encourage people that if you are going to go hunt, make sure you have permission to be on the land.
Well,
look at I turned into a law thing.
Good job. Yeah, it's amazing how occasionally we have enough problems with deer hunters, turkey hunters, that kind of thing, pheasant hunters, crossing the fence and not getting permission. But something about mushroom hunters, get a handful that they completely disregard property lines too. So yes, do not trespass to go find mushrooms.
Because Washington County puts their blotter up online, and there are calls like this time of year of people trespassing.
Oh yeah,
and they turn out to be mushroom hunters.
Oh yeah,
yeah.
It's one of the only foods that when you go to the store and they've got it packaged fresh, it's dirty. You have to. It's all there's still dirt on it.
Yeah.
You have to rinse it all off. Everything else they scrub and make sure it's nice and shiny clean for you. But mushrooms, you're on your own.
That's right. Yes, clean them up.
I do love a good mushroom though. That's not a delicacy, but it's a nice addition to a meal, depending on what you're cooking. So the budget got passed and everything. I think that's all approved now.
Budget season's over. It's funny. It takes a long time. The county starts working on it. In the early fall is like when the worksheets go out and everybody starts planning. It takes until this long to hit the statutory deadlines for like the tax hearing and the public hearing and all that stuff for the budget. Yeah. So we wrap it up. We're 1st of May now, and here in about 4 months, we'll start tiptoeing back into it. It comes around pretty quick when we start looking at budgets. But I think everybody this year, there's so much uncertain, and there still is uncertainty from the legislature about what's going to happen to property tax. A lot of us were, at least I know I can speak for us anyway, we were really thinking about that coming into this budget season about, what's it going to look like? And, I wouldn't call it being, austerity measures by any means, but definitely a lot more conservative approach to the budget this year. We're adding one new clerical position, but I'm actually instead of asking for new dollars for it, I'm sliding it over from a separate line where we had enough to cover it. So everybody's kind of get a little creative in their budget for next year because we still don't know if there's going to be a cap on the property tax or what's going to happen. And if it does, that could have a serious impact on local government.
It's funny how the state requires you to have your budgets ready by such and such a date, but they can't meet their own deadline to finish up their session.
Yeah.
They're in overtime now.
The other interesting thing about, I've found this out a long time ago when being on council, but then you see it again in county government, budget season starts in kind of early fall. You're really hot and heavy into it December, January, February. But that's also when new elected officials come into office. So for people who are non-incumbents, then if they get elected, whether it's an open seat or you knock out the sitting elected, you're coming in kind of halfway through budget season.
Right. It takes them a while to get up to speed.
And it does. It takes you a long time, and you're also dealing with. You're still halfway through the budget that's already in place, so you've got a pretty steep learning curve when it comes to the budget when you're brand new to office, regardless if you're on city council or sheriff or whatever it may be.
Has your budget been affected by the Doge cuts? Because I know you get some federal grants in there too, right, and stuff like that.
We haven't our operating budget itself has not been affected by Doge. There was a separate a project I was working on involving the Bureau of Justice Assistance, does a bunch of grant funding, and this project I was involved was called the Rural Violent Crime Reduction Initiative. And basically, they provide grant funding to small rural agencies across the country, and then they have a handful of other people. And so, myself, for example, we were providing technical assistance. So basically, as they implement, one agency was getting computers for their cars, or another one was getting a gray key, which is basically the main device you use for digital forensics, which we've been doing that here for years. So some of those things. So as they were doing these projects, then we'd have these kind of bi-monthly meetings where we talk about how it's going, and then any input from me, whatever. And they do reimbursements. I never did any of the reimbursements. I just kind of did it on just kind of volunteering, if you will. And then just 2 weeks ago, I get the email from the project administrator that project had been doged also. Mm-hmm. So just like that, they pulled the plug on it said seesaw work and don't do anything else. So fortunately for those departments that had, they already had their projects and their equipment in place, but it's too bad. Even these pretty critical law enforcement funding for agencies that were, getting pretty critical equipment and infrastructure in place, plug pulled just out of nowhere.
Yeah, and I believe that those budget items were agreed upon a long time ago for this current fiscal, and I think the government fiscal year runs through August. Is that? I can't remember for sure.
I don't know if the federal government's on a different budget cycle than we are.
Yeah, but
we're July to June.
But that was money that was already allocated that's being cut, and it's causing havoc everywhere.
Well, yeah, especially for in the nonprofit world.
Yes,
a lot of the grant funding they get has matching dollars, say, from the state. So when you get the federal funds cut off, it actually can cut off those state dollars too, and it has significant impact, especially when you're so reliant on donors and fundraising. When those grant dollars make up huge chunks of your budget, and when they just vanish, I mean, you are struggling. You're in trouble.
Well, and our area is known for living up to the task, and and coming through in the clutch and all that. But at some point, there's not going to be all the dollars available that are needed.
Well, that's exactly right, and then that goes back to the the discussion about the property tax. If it's capped, government at the local still has to provide services. And we still have to pay the union negotiated wages, and we still got to pay health insurance and retirement. These are the things we have to do. And if you have, if the cap is 2%, but if your average wage increases across your divisions and your departments is 3.5 plus inflation and everything else, the numbers, it just doesn't add up. And significant cuts that have to be made. And these are, local government provides the basic services we all provide. I mean, you don't notice it until you got to go without less road plowing or, poll workers or whatever it may be. Local government still has to function, provide services.
Now, this might be kind of a similar question going to the federal thing, but do you get a lot of equipment from overseas where maybe the tariff thing could affect your budget as well? Things get a lot more expensive.
Yeah, the big thing that I'm keeping my eye out on is vehicles. Okay. We cycle out anywhere from 4 to 7 vehicles a year, depending on mileage and that kind of thing. So that's something I'm kind of concerned about. Unfortunately, you buy your government, you buy your vehicles, it's called state bid. So there's a fixed price that comes out from the state. So it's significantly cheaper than buying them on the retail market, but they will go up accordingly, and we have to think about those things. So that is something we're keeping an eye on, because that's everything else. Everybody will have to absorb, like, equipment and all those things. But the big ticket things like vehicles, for example, are the ones that I'm worried about the most. So yeah, we're definitely keeping an eye on it.
Well, I think electronics would be another item that would be.
They are fortunately, like, we just replaced our body camera and in-car camera systems 2 or 3 years ago.
So you're still good for a while.
We're good on that for a while. We just rolled out our new version of Taser within the last year or so. So again, kind of the bigger ticket things we're pre-tariffs, but we'll have to look, 2, 3, 4 years down the road, and who knows? The prices never wind up going down, though. I mean, I ran into a builder, a construction friend of mine the other day, and he was talking about a shed he's building, and he's like, I'm already over budget on it. And so we were talking about cost of materials, and he just kind of laughed. He says, when was the last time anybody ever said, hey, lumber went down, so now's a good time? I said, well, that's true. You never hear of paint prices dropping or anything. Right. I mean, that's just how it is. The prices continue to go up, and you got to be prepared for them.
Yeah, and that's a good thing to think about in life, because your rents are going up. Your as you mentioned, property tax perhaps, or your mortgage rates and so forth.
And think about it in the context of we're looking to put a jail on the ballot next fall, and what do we do if it doesn't pass, and then we try it again in 3, 4, 5 years? The price will always continue to rise.
Yes. And
then you're going to look back and like, why in the hell didn't we do it 10 years ago when we could have built? So you know what I mean? Like,
sure.
And we have to think long term about these infrastructure questions and decisions, because they will not get cheaper.
Yeah, wasn't the first proposal for a new jail like 20 years ago, and it was just the amount was just so minuscule compared to what it's going to be now?
Yes. So the last time we voted on it, which 2012,
like 2013,
it was like 43 million, I think, something like that. And now here we are talking about one that's 80, and who knows what it'll be if we don't. In 10 years from now, if we have to try again, I mean, Lord knows what the
that
price
ain't going down. No, that price
absolutely
is
not. I mean, to build a jail. So on the since it's such a
well,
specialty,
we're reopening Alcatraz. Maybe you can just reopen some old.
Gosh.
Find some old buildings you can open up and just throw people in there.
It's like $750 a square foot for construction costs for like a correctional facility. You're not building regular commercial space.
Right.
It's specialized property. It costs a lot more to build. And what's interesting is you have kind of both sides of the spectrum from the public, how they feel about it. Some people feel it needs to be very therapeutic and, a very like restorative type environment.
Right.
And then you've got other people who feel, no, pole building, bread and water, like that's what they get.
No TV.
That's right. Yeah. So you get both ends of the spectrum. People feel what a facility should look like. Fortunately, I mean, the middle ground is what the code lays out. Here are the specifications. Here's how big it has to be. Here's what you have to provide. You do that, and you wind up with a very nice, adequate facility.
The one sheriff I can't remember his name. The sheriff was in Arizona, where he's just putting him in like tents out in the desert.
Tents, and I mean that's nonsense.
We've got a guy on the phone that would know a lot about this. Hey, dude.
Hey, good morning, dudes. Good morning, Sheriff, former Shields coworker here.
Which one?
What's that?
Which one?
Ryan O'Leary.
Oh,
hey, this is O'Leary. Yeah. Hey, so yes, I completely agree with you on construction costs and increases. When I was on Parks and Rec in the early 2000s, we had a bridge that was on our capital improvement budget just constantly for 6 years in a row, and I finally said at a meeting, and they took it to council, I said, if you think cement, steel, and union labor are going to go down, let me know, because I have a lot of friends.
That's right.
Who would really appreciate
exactly
that.
Right.
Yeah. But, no. Totally absurd to think that costs are going to go down.
Right. And that's
built.
And that's we have to think about that as leaders and elected officials doing it responsibly with the money, because if we keep if you drag your feet and you kick it, it costs more down the road. And that's not a responsible way to do business either. You know, you've got to make the right decision at the right time, and it will keep costing more if you don't. Because you're right, Ryan. Construction, steel, concrete, copper, that's not going down.
Labor.
Wages, labor, insurance, that's not going to go down.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
And what would be even more expensive would be if for some reason you guys ever have to temporarily close your facility and relocate,
Mm-hmm.
it would be outrageous. So we need the jail. We need it soon.
It would.
Hopefully we'll see
cost.
progress.
It would cost more to not have to deal with, and we would still need to build a facility to do like booking, intake, and release, like a temporary holding facility, just to get by in the meantime. Because your other option is people don't stop getting arrested just because if you had to close your building. So then what do? You either have to force those law enforcement agencies to drive to Lynn County or to wherever we could wind up finding a booking facility and then bring them back. I mean, the costs of not having it ripple out into Coralville and North Liberty and Iowa City and the University Heights and the University of Iowa, those costs increase and it affects even more and more tax dollars.
You guys have a wonderful week. I need to go say hi to my favorite recycling driver.
You do that.
See ya. Thanks.
All right. Bye.
Right.
He's a busy man.
He is.
Now, I want to talk about this because it's coming up. People are trying to get in their boats. We got this is your last appearance on here before Memorial Day weekend. Mm-hmm. So you got any like boating safety or outdoor safety stuff you'd let people know about as people are heading out and enjoying the waters?
If you are in the water, whether it's a canoe or a houseboat or anything in between, wear a life jacket. Wear a life jacket. Honestly, that's the number one thing we always see when it comes to boating-related fatalities is not wearing a life jacket. We see our fair share of swimming-related emergencies. People either not good at swimming, they don't have any swimming skills, or underestimating the depth of the water. And remember, like your public beaches around here don't have a lifeguard, so you're also swimming at your own risk. So making sure you're watching whoever's in your group, young kids, inexperienced swimmers, that kind of thing. And then alcohol consumption never is a good thing involving water. So I would say between those three things, you could prevent a tragedy just by doing those things. And then Memorial Day weekend itself is it's traffic and people and campers and everything else. So just being careful out on the roads, not only watching for boats and campers, it's, especially living kind of the North Corridor area, bicycles. We see a lot more recreational bike rides, but just in general, every weekend, it's lines of bikes up around the lake area. So watching out for the bikes. And then, funny, as I pulled in here, I realized the corn's already coming up here next to you.
Yeah.
They're, as long as it stays dry, everybody's going to be planting like gangbusters. So watching out for.
Yeah, it seems like they're planting a lot later this year than usual, unless I'm just not paying attention usually.
It's been wet.
Yeah.
I mean, I just talked to a guy the other day, and that's what he was kind of waiting on, is for it to dry out a little. So just trying to get in what you can when you can. But between those three things, you could prevent a lot of tragedy and save us a lot of work.
Yeah, especially on these 2-lane highways in the county. You got a big tractor that has to get somewhere.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And the only way they can get there is at like 35, 40 miles an hour.
Yeah,
and you just have to be patient.
You got to be patient and don't get hasty or impatient, especially waiting to pass. We see our fair share of crashes and fatalities when people, get tired of being behind a sprayer or guy dragging in hydrous tanks or something, so they try and jump out and pass. Well, there's somebody else doing the same thing, or they do it on a hill, or pick your bad decision.
Yeah, use your driver's manual and remember that what those solid yellow lines mean.
Mm-hmm. Well, yeah, and even when those vehicles are turning, they can have their signal on, but if you don't see it,
right? If
you're not used to it, the farmers do a good job of trying to alert traffic to what they're going to do, and yet people still come flying up on them, try and pass when they're getting ready to make a left turn. We see it all, and you hit a tractor. I mean, you're it's not gonna turn out well for you.
No.
Or the
Tractor
farmer
wins.
Yeah, and sometimes even the operator gets killed too. I mean, we've
That's
seen
happened
that.
too, yeah.
So yeah, just being patient, and putting the stinking phone down.
Well, that'll be law in July.
It will be law in July. That's a long time
I
coming.
mean, can you see that pretty easily from, if you're in a patrol car, for example, somebody's on their phone, like chatting away or something? Because that's pretty easy to see.
Oh yeah, I think. Well, we all know it's easy to see, like when we're at a stoplight.
Yeah.
We all see it in town, but we still see them. I mean, it's pretty blatant out on the highway. Sometimes you're driving down the road and you'll see somebody with it sitting right up on the steering wheel.
Yeah.
Yeah, you see it all the time. It's nonstop.
I remember almost getting broadsided one time. It was going through an intersection. The light turned green, and I saw this car coming from the left on the other side, and they didn't stop. They were on their phone. They weren't paying attention to anything.
Even having that phone conversation, like it's taking your
focus,
your cognitive focus out of driving, and that happened to me. This is years ago in Iowa City. I was southbound on Dodge, coming up to, what is it where Maid Right is Iowa Avenue?
Yeah.
I think so.
I see this car was eastbound, and I see the vehicle pull up, and as it come up to the stop sign, I'll never forget seeing the driver turn her head to the right, looking for traffic, and she had her phone up to her ear. Well, the problem is when you turn your head to the right at Dodge in Iowa, there's no cars coming from the right because it's a one-way.
Right.
She thought she was at Governor, and so she then ran the stop sign and T-bone and hit me in the front end of my car.
Oh, jeez.
But it's all, again, when you're even distracted by that phone, you're not fully aware sometimes of where you're at. Your reaction time slows, and so yeah, it happens a lot. Putting the phone down.
Yeah, the easiest thing to do is leave it at home, like I did for some reason today.
Really?
There you go.
Sorry, Roberto.
I was on a streak. I think it's been 6 weeks since I forgot it.
Wow.
But today I did for some reason. But when I'm in the car, I usually have it in my bag, or if I need it, it's up on my holder.
Right.
And I have a hands-free. I never talk on the phone unless I can talk hands-free. So I mean, it's an easy fix.
It is. Most things are.
Yeah,
most things are.
Just common sense is an easy fix, right?
Yeah.
I got a question for you when I'm looking at the blotter or
Okay.
the arrests on your website. And some of them, it will say at the bottom, detainer ICE. Now, is that something where if you arrest someone and find out that they don't have the proper paperwork, you have to inform the government? Is that what that means? Or does that mean they've inquired to you about that person?
No, most of the time what that means is they've learned that person's in our custody, and then they place a hold on them as well.
Okay.
I see.
So they contact you for that.
Yeah, they get a hold of us, and I looked just the other day. We've probably got, I don't know, 4 or 5, maybe half a dozen people with a ICE detainer, but they've all got local charges, meaning some sort of pending state charge, which is why they're in jail. And a lot of times it's like sex abuse, domestic, and then that person will be in our custody until their local charge is disposed of one way or the other, pled guilty, dismissed, goes to trial.
So if they've got a local charge, they have to serve that sentence before they're deported?
Yeah, we'll hang on to them until that local charge is handled, and then once that's over, then they come pick them up, take them wherever they have lined up.
Now, when you say handled, do you just mean adjudicated, or do you mean like serving the full sentence?
Yes.
Okay.
I mean, like if they're, it could be a number of things, just but till that case is disposed of and they're done on the
Settled.
state charge, whatever it may be, right? Then we'll notify them that they're done on our.
I'm
charges.
asking more as the news director who's going to write stories about people like this.
Oh, sure, yeah.
That's just a general thing.
Yeah.
I don't know how much the public needs to know this, but I would like to.
Yeah, then once they're done on our local charge, whatever it is, then we'll notify them, hey, they're ready for pickup, and they're usually very quick, within a day or 2 at the most. In fact, I believe their paperwork, their detainer forms, all say like they'll come get them within 48 hours, or don't hold them any longer, or something like that. They come get them really quick, and then take them to wherever they have contracted for those. Because since they're now in federal custody, they have to take them wherever they have contracts for federal beds. A lot of that's like Lynn County. I don't know if Hardin County does it anymore. Maybe Muscatine County, but yeah, we don't house them once they're done on the local charges.
Well, this has been going on for, some people think this just was made up by the Trump administration. This has been going on for decades.
Yeah, this is nothing new.
I worked at a foundry in Bettendorf, one of my non-radio gigs.
Yeah.
This is right around 2007, 2008, and one of the guys I worked with was from Mexico, and he got his, I believe, third OWI, and never saw him again because they deport you. You know, if you consider, because that's a felony. The third OWI is a felony, so he was gone.
Yeah. And like I said, once they're done, they go to, usually around here it's probably Lynn County because they have the contract for them. Then they house them up there, and then from there, I don't know what their journey looks like, but yeah, they're all done on our charges. They're out the door. They
just released their April crime statistics in Cedar Rapids and saw some significant downturns in like shoplifting and things like that. Where do you guys? Where do you stand right now, like compared to last year? Do you have any idea?
I don't, because I haven't looked that far. I skimmed over our annual report draft the other day, but I don't remember. I have to look again what those trends are. Our jail population is actually trending back up in 2024, but charge-wise, I don't know. And everything in our annual report would only be those sheriff's office specific. I don't think. I mean, I would say some of our trends would probably match what we would see across the rest of the county, like say like OWIs and that kind of thing. But questions about shoplifting, for example.
But that's usually the city that it
that's right.
in.
Yeah, like where's your retail? Right. That's where those facts
Iowa
and
City
figures
Police,
come.
Coralville
and
Police.
Coralville.
Yeah. Okay.
Yep.
Okay. Fair enough.
So yeah.
All right. Anything else we want to discuss?
I think we're good.
Caught everything.
No, I think I'm doing a great job. And
in your opinion, yeah. That's
right.
Well, you got to have confidence.
That's right. Hey,
and you're not affected by this thing the legislature wants to do, where you elect the supervisors by different regions or whatever they're going to do.
Nope.
Yeah.
Not you.
Nope, has nothing to do with me.
Countywide.
Thank goodness. So no, it's beautiful weather out.
Yeah, go out and enjoy and
be safe out there.
Go out there.
What's up? NAMI walks coming up this weekend.
Yep.
A lot of walk. It's like walk season.
Yes, absolutely. A lot of charity events outside and stuff like that.
And golf outings.
Golf outings.
And pancake breakfast.
Yes. That's right. Yeah, Tiffin was yesterday.
Yeah.
Coralville was a couple weeks ago.
I think I just printed up something. Lone Tree Fire's doing like a chicken thing next week.
Oh.
Yeah, they do chicken. Solon coming up Memorial Day weekend too.
Yeah, Hills is coming up here in a week or two.
Oh,
right?
That's right. Yeah. Yep.
And Hills has, like, everybody does something a little different, which I like.
Yeah.
Like, Tiffin has hash browns. Hills, I think, has biscuits and gravy.
Yeah, I know they were out by the time I went last time.
So I kind of
we have to work here Sunday mornings.
Yeah.
I like the variety everybody kind of does to give it something a little extra special there.
You know, maybe the next time one of us could cover each other and one of us could take a road trip over there and grab a couple.
I just record one of my newscasts. I'll head down and get it for two.
You should like live stream it. Yep.
Take the remote down there.
All right. Well, thank you, Sheriff.
Yeah, thanks, guys.
Yeah, thank you.
We'll see you next month. It is 3 minutes before 8 o'clock. You're listening to the Mighty 1630 KC.